Do you want to know the proper tools and techniques and how to be a great football kicker or be able to understand how to coach football specialists the right way? Well, believe it or not, many coaches, especially in the high school level and some in the college level, don't know the correct kicking techniques at all. I myself was a 4 year starting kicker here at Catholic University, and I know the proper tools and techniques and how to make it to the college level. Future kickers and coaches will be able to understand to execute and coach proper kicking techniques. So first, we should know exactly where the sweet spot is on the kicking foot as well as the football. So on the kicking foot, here I have my soccer cleat, and it's very important. Sweet spot here is going to be right where the bone is on your feet, on your foot here. That's your sweet spot. And then the sweet spot on the ball is going to be 1/3 the way up here from the bottom of the football. 1/3 the way up. That's your sweet spot. So you want those two sweet spots to make that nice pop, and it will go nice and straight all the way through the uprights. So now that we know the sweet spot of the ball and the kicking foot, we're going to go into the 4 keys of the kicking technique. So first is stance, second is your plant foot, third is lockout, the ankle lockout, and lastly is your follow through. So first with the stance, but before the stance, it's important to take your steps in order to get into that stance. So your steps consist of 3 casual steps back and 2 casual steps over, which creates a 90-degree angle. So once you get there, you're going to face towards the ball, and the 2-point stance, feet shoulder width apart, and your kicking foot should be back a little bit in your stance. Now, when you're there, you want to point your kicking foot at the ball, and then you want to point your plant foot to where your plant foot wants to be. So with that in mind, we're going to want to have about 70% of your weight on that plant foot, and your step should be right in the straight line to where your target point is. So now that we have our stance, we're going to talk about the plant foot. Now, to me, this is the most important part of kicking, because if you want to be a very consistent kicker and make the field goal every time, kickers should have their plant foot in the same spot every single time. That creates your consistency. So the plant should be in the middle of the uprights facing when you come up to the ball, because wherever your plant foot is, say it's a little right, you're going to miss left. Your plant foot is a little left, you're going to miss there. So it's important that when you come in, your plant foot should be facing towards the middle of the upright. And your foot, when it's there, should be about 8 to 10 inches from the tee, and your heel of your foot should be in line with the ball. Very important. And next we have the lockout. So with the lockout, it's very important that you don't hit it with a bent leg, because this is what creates the inconsistencies and a lot of loss of power with your kick. So you want to make sure your whole leg and ankle is locked out. And this is going to be taking place simultaneously with making contact with the ball. So after your lockout, you have lastly your follow through. So with your follow through, it's crazy as it seems, if the first 3 keys that we just talked about are not correct, a very good follow through will save your kick. And that's because when you have that kicking foot and leg staying locked out while that swing comes, that swing should become nice and straight up and through the middle of the uprights, because you want to make that follow through right towards your target line, which is between those yellow uprights. And after the contact, so after you swing your leg and after the contact there, naturally you're gonna like slide a little bit towards your plant side, about like 40 degrees or 45 degrees or so, and your hip should stay facing the middle of the upright, because that's your target line. So that's the gist. And now that we have the field goal technique settled, lastly, we're going to go and talk about the kickoff technique. So, kickoffs, believe it or not, evolve the same exact form as field goals. So, with this being first play of the game, to start the game, the only difference with that is the number of steps and the follow through. So when you're doing your steps and follow through and you're making your run, the kicker should land on his kicking foot in order to bring all his momentum towards the ball when kicking off. And with the steps, it's kind of just a trial and error, to believe it or not. It's whatever's comfortable. There's not one true like kickoff like run distance. Everybody's different. Every kicker is different. It has their own technique that it makes them fully execute, because height, weight, speed of the leg, etc. There's multiple different factors that go into it. So with the kickoff technique, it varies with the kicker. So a lot of trial and error, but it's important that with these steps you want to start with a nice walk, jog, and a little build up, where those last couple steps, boom, 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 is what brings that nice momentum into the kickoff. But you want to make sure that last step is not too big, because that's where you'll lose your momentum. So with this in mind now, now that you're knowledgeable of the kicking game, kickers should practice these techniques I just told you about, and coaches now that they have this knowledge of what it is to be a kicker, that they'll know how to coach these kids properly. And there's a famous quote that is known throughout all the kicking world, is the most important kick is the next one, because it could be a mental game as well. But if you miss that one, that's okay. You get the next one. And even the ones you made, the most important kick is the next one. You need to focus up and get the next kick. But yeah, so I know it's a little detailed topic, but it's something I truly know about, and it's really been a part of my life for a while. And so if there's any specific questions with the kicking game, life as a specialist on the football team, because we are different, I'll be more than happy to inform you guys more information on this topic.